I don't know if I've ever seen a ball hit that far. I mean, I can't believe how far that freaking ball went.
Oh my gosh! And in that stadium, you don't see it there that often. Did
they move the walls in at some point, in the last 20 years?
So probably. I mean, it feels like they move them in and out of places all the time now. So I don't know, but I do know that typically the ballparks in the NL West play a little bigger. So, to hit one where he hit it, and that did almost clear that roof.
It went in between the roof and the pink sign.
I'm telling you, I think the thing hit a freaking satellite, for crying out loud. It was an absolute missile. A missile. And God knows that Crawford was giving up enough of them last night.
So, a fitting highlight, low light, if you will, for the Red Sox loss yesterday to the Dodgers. 6 home runs allowed. It was home run derby yesterday for the Dodgers. They get swept by the Dodgers, and that's how they come out of the All-Star break. And that's what we will start with, but you can start on whatever you want because it is a re-entry Monday. So that means everything from the week. Mazz has been off the last week, so it's a massive re-entry for Mazz. We'll get Mazz caught up on all the stuff we've been doing over the last week or so. So it's all open to you, whatever you want. 617-779-0985. But again, we'll start with opening thoughts on the Red Sox. What's your take on the team coming out of the weekend?
So my concern always with a weekend like this is that ownership and management is going to look at this series and say, see, we got to be careful here. We're going into the deadline. We might not be as good as we think we are. Deadline's 9 days away, blah, 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 blah. To which I have 2 things to say. One, I agree with a little bit with Alex Cora, which is, this Dodgers team was everybody's favorite to win the World Series when the season began. So there is no shame in losing 3 to the Dodgers, although I think there's shame in being swept by anybody. But the point is the Dodgers are very, very good. And secondly, what I would ask more, particularly as it relates to ownership and management, just because the deadline is the 31st doesn't mean you have to wait till the 31st to make a move. You can make one beforehand, particularly if you have a couple of relievers down. So they had leads in all 3 games. They blew 2 of them last night. The lead was obviously just after the top of the first, but they gave it right back. And they should have won 2. They could have won 2 of the 3 games very easily.
So that's how I sort of look at it. They should have won 2 of the 3. And they've been an excellent team with late game leads, right? Don't they have some ridiculous records about up after 8, up after going into the 9th, whatever? And so they gave it up. But I don't know. I think the other way to sort of look at it is until you got to last night where it got away from them, they were toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in baseball. I don't know. That's how I would look at it. And then at the end of the day, are they not as good as the Dodgers? Yeah, they're not as good as the Dodgers. And at the end of the day, are they going to come up short against really, really good teams? Yeah, maybe, probably. But you're still sort of in it. Not sort of in it. You're in it. And why wouldn't you give yourself a crack against a good team again when it matters and you see what happens? That's what that sport's become. Let's see what happens. So it doesn't change my outlook on the team one bit. Does it tell me that they're not quite with the big boys? Yeah, they're not quite with the big boys. Does that mean you can't beat them? Underdogs have been beating the big boys in that sport for a long, long time. They're in the same boat as far as I'm concerned. So that's how I look at that. Mark Dondero is in for Big Jim Murray today. Dondero, what are your thoughts?
Good to be with you guys. I'll keep it quick because it came over me and I was just, it was borderline unbelievable. Jared Duran is good. I mean, I can't get over how good he is this year. He is doing everything. He's making plays in the outfield. Every at-bat, seemingly, I know he had there's one big at-bat that I would have liked to hit. He didn't get a hit. But, I mean, he's hitting home runs. He's going the other way. He's hitting for power, for average, his hustle, base running. Everything this guy is doing is sort of setting the tone. Forget about being the All-Star Game MVP. Sort of setting the tone for this Red Sox team and the prosperous season they've had. I'm just so impressed with Jared Duran. And it's nice to echo what you said, Mike, that the team this is what they are. They've been a really good team, late in games, holding on leads, closing out games. It's refreshing. Now, that it didn't happen this weekend, and those 2 first games of this series were borderline disasters, and I was sick over those losses, but at least I was sick over those losses. I was surprised that they didn't win those games. That's not a bad place to be as the trade deadline looms.
Okay, again, your thoughts, 617-779-0985. What else, Mass? What else stands out?
Well, to me, the Jansen part of it is a big part of it. I go back to those blown games. They haven't lost games like that all year long. So you can't start losing them now.
Is bullpen a need all of a sudden?
I think it's always a need.
Do you take it over a starter or a right-handed bat?
Well, no, in theory, I might even put the right-handed bat first. I felt that way all along. But I do think that when you look at their roster, in theory, if you add a starter, there is sort of a push-down effect and someone spills into the bullpen. So in theory, you help both by doing that. I like the bat first. I think their vulnerability against left-handed pitching has become apparent. They can't beat lefties.
Alex Spear writes, over the course of the 3 games, several Sox shortcomings were exposed. For example, against lefties, the team went 11 for 56 with the slash line. You ready for it? 196, 297, 375. 21 strikeouts and 64 plate appearances. So again, against lefties. Is that right just this weekend? 56 at-bats? Maybe. I mean, Paxton last night.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, 11 for 56 against lefties this weekend. 21 strikeouts and 64 plate appearances. Again, hitting just 196. They have a 30% strikeout rate against left-handers this year. Easily the worst in baseball.
Yeah, so look, this has been a problem all year long. So this is why I say, just because the deadline's on the, at the end of the month, you don't have to wait till the deadline to make a move. You've played 4 months now. You played 2/3 of your season, and you haven't been able to hit left-handed pitching. What is the freaking hang-up? Get moving. Get someone in here. And then, again, now look, I know they lost Trevor Story, but that happened early in the year. You've had plenty of time to go out and look for a right-handed bat. So to me, this is, I think it's the bigger thing. I do, because I think the way the pitching works, you can kind of mix and match. A good manager can get you through there. I'm not telling you they don't need pitching. Of course they do. But I think the right-handed bat is a bigger thing. Teams look at them and say, well, we can beat them by throwing lefties against them, because what righty in that lineup do you fear? Who do you fear? Connor Wong? What's he got, 7 home runs? I mean, there isn't a guy in that lineup that you say from the right-handed side really strikes fear in you, and that has to change. It can change their whole team. And I'm just going to throw out a name. I'm not telling you they're going to get this guy, but if you were to get a Guerrero and throw him into the middle of that lineup, the whole thing changes completely. Their whole lineup is different. All of a sudden, teams look at them and go, we can't screw with them now. We can't mess around. They're too dangerous in the middle.
Spear writes, the 3 blown saves, which you got to do the math for me. Was there 2 blown saves in one game?
Probably.
In the Saturday night game then? Mm-hmm. So they blew it twice on Saturday.
Correct.
Fine. The 3 blown saves suggest a shorthandedness in the absence of injured relievers Chris Martin and Justin Slayton. A vulnerability that will become more glaring without Kenley Jansen, who will not travel to Colorado because of an irregular heartbeat that he said required shock treatment 3 times in his career after pitching in Denver. That's a weird one, huh? Shock therapy after he pitches in Denver? What is that? What is shock therapy, Mazz?
They hook him up to a defibrillator.
I mean, don't tell me this, the pancakes? One flew over the cuckoo's nest?
Oh, you mean paddles?
Yeah, what do you mean shock therapy? What does that mean, shock therapy?
Yeah, I think you go in and
boom! What does that mean? What is shock therapy?
Startling shock.
But that whole thing, so you're a pro athlete, but when you go into Denver, when you come out of it, you got to get shock treatment? What does that mean?
I think they go in with electrodes and hook him up to wires. They do. They shock his heart. His heart probably gets out of rhythm. They go back in there and shock it.
All right. That's sidebar.
Boo.
Shock treatment 3 times in his career after pitching in Denver. So he's out. Yeah, I wouldn't go to Denver either. They're hooking me up to the freaking machine every time I go there. But I'm sorry. To me, bullpen, down the list. By the way, every single team could use bullpen arms. That's obviously every team wants it, could use it. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to go with what you got there. And hopefully you don't play in Denver again. And they're just going to have to hope those guys get right, and that's that. They need a starter more, and they need right-handed help more than a bullpen. So, even with this weekend, I'm just going to let that. I'm going to let that go. Yes,
about the bullpen. They haven't been to the World Series every year, but the last time they were in that situation, if there's any manager that's able to kind of negotiate a bullpen, I feel like it's Alex Cora, based on what he did in 2018, where he was throwing in starters and just doing a bunch of things, maybe a little unconventional, but that worked out in the bullpen situation that year. So. I would put that down on the list too.
So overall, I would just say, for the doubters, which include the organization, but certainly fans or other media people that we talk to or debate about the merits of this team, it's easy for them to come out of the weekend and say, see, they just don't match up against the good teams. To which I would say, I kind of feel just the opposite. They may not be able to beat the good teams. So for that, you're not going to give them a chance? Because if you tell me this, if you tell me I can get this Red Sox team deep into the playoffs for the pennant, and in game one of this series, take a 1-run lead into the 8th, and then the next night, take 2 late inning leads, including a 2-run lead into the 11th or the 12th, whatever it is, I wouldn't take that? Of course I'm going to take that. It says you're right there. So I get up against a team like the Dodgers or a team that's better than me in a different class, but I get a 1-run lead going into the 8th inning one night and then 2 late-run leads in the extra inning, including a 2-run lead in the 12th or whatever it was in that second game. I'm not going to take that. To me, that defines being right there. So I feel no differently about this team. I treat this team no differently if I'm the organization.
Yeah, I say I'm worried that because I think on some level they want an out.
Of course.
So I worry that they look at it that way. And the Saturday game is the one that should bug you for the reasons that you're saying. Enrique Hernandez. The guy was here. We all know, freaking. He tries to pull everything. You throw him one right down the middle. All you got to do is throw him a slider away. That's it. Cut fastball away. He throws his cutter on every freaking pitch anyway, and he'll get himself out. You leave it in the middle of the plate, he jacks it. You deserve to lose. You make a jackass mistake like that.
Blew it in the 9th, blew it in the 10th, lose it in the 11th. Okay. Is that a better team coming? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Give me that. Game 7 in the ALCS. I'll take that. Take my chances, see what happens. You don't want it? Do they not want it?
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Red Sox analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.